And ooh, it's going slow this morning.
I want to say something early in this. I have we still have people that haven't done their registration, and it takes 3 minutes. It's, I don't know if it's any of you. I'm trying to think, but I hadn't been down here. Um, it's really important. We have all your names, numbers, your birthday.
So you really want your birthdays?
Yeah, I like your birthdays. I sometimes hear from somebody from, I don't know, somebody that went to kindergarten with somebody because they saw their birthday, like somebody in common, or somebody's brother who was married to her sister, to somebody from Joy's sister or something. Find people, are you the same Susan so and so?
I wonder why this is
We're trying
not.
to think,
Okay,
but
now we're up.
I haven't been down here.
All right, now. Oh my gosh, did I make you go away again?
No, we're here.
Okay,
No.
there we go. Now I'm trying to pull up the history because I had a bunch of tabs pulled up that I wanted to show you, and of course, when I bopped out of the meeting, everything went away. So I was trying to pull those up. All right, so I believe, did you get the message that says we're recording?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. So we are recording. So there were three things that we wanted to talk about today. One was our legacy or inactive accounts. Two is making sure that everybody is good with their password managers. And three, if you had any problems working with cleaning up your devices, that you were able to work through those. So sadly, the people who are asking me about password managers are not in class. We'll see how that goes. So I'm gonna start with that one. Hey, Andy. And Renee, I'm
Good
sure
morning.
somewhere
She's
there.
coming.
Alrighty. So I was just reviewing what we're going to talk about: legacy and inactive accounts, cleaning our devices, and password managers. So first question, is there, because I'm hoping this is the easy one, is there anybody who has not who has had any trouble setting up their password manager? Or you were able to go ahead and set up your password manager, you're using it, you're amazed at how wonderful it is, and everything's good. Terry.
I had been using Google I mean, I'm sorry, I mean Apple, Keynote,
Keychain.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I wasn't receiving any, like I couldn't get online or any of that, and I went to look into it. Anyway, there is somewhere there out there in the world a T-Tano, not a TW. I don't really know. There's very many. And for some reason, she was receiving, or her email was receiving this. Anyway, they had it. They don't know how many times it happened because she never took any action on anything. She probably deleted it when she saw it was from, or he or she. And I had to start like all over again. So that was good because it needed to be all refreshed. But I stuck with that, even though maybe because I'm lazy and I don't want to learn something else.
All right.
It was very strange that I found out that much information, but never that there was any kind of, I didn't use my credit card. I mean, there's nothing happened with it.
Huh. Okay. All right. Okay. Anybody else have any issues with password managers? They're all working great. We're using them. We know how to use them. Martin, are you using a password manager?
No, I'm sorry. I'm an old-fashioned guy. I got the password little spiral book, and I stick to that.
Okay.
I know that works.
Okay. How complicated are your passwords?
Well, they get a little nuts, but
Good.
yeah.
That's as
I
good.
use the strange symbols as much as I can.
Okay.
So
Okay. That's good.
yeah.
I still have mine, I still
Ours sometimes works and doesn't. Mhm.
You can't see it. I still have
You got your organ, but yours is typed out. Oh, and
typed out, but I only,
but
but I just I need to keep a record of it. But I use my keychain when I'm not near my list.
okay. All right. Well, that's good.
You have to learn how to use it, really. I've seen it. But
So, Andy, how does yours sometimes not work?
I'll put in a new password and sometimes it'll come up and say like, you want to save this password? And other times it won't. I don't understand why it does that, but it's kind of weird.
Hmm.
Like it'll punch in, like I'll be putting in a new password and everything, and it'll say like, you want to save it? I save it, or it'll come up. I mean, then I'll put it in and it's not there and I can't find it because it didn't save it. So
Hmm.
that's
Happens
weird.
to me too. There are
Me
certain
too.
sites that certain sites where keychain won't give you the message right away. Would you like to save this or would you like to update?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And then there's some places that don't do that. I don't know why.
But I don't think that keychain is dependent on the site. Keychain should work independently of the site.
Mm.
Um, I'm not sure,
One,
but it's its own program, right? I'm just trying
Yeah.
to noodle through this. It's like its own app
yeah, yes.
that you've given
What?
permission to interact with everything else. I guess another site, like maybe a
On air.
banking site or something, could have a line of code that would block that from happening.
I looked in my settings, in the settings in Keychain, and it had actually a couple things that I had accounts twice. I put
Yes.
in something, and so the password was changed, but it wasn't changed on the one I used. So that I learned. I didn't even know to go into their own settings.
So I'm just looking at Scott's here for a second.
Joyce, does that ever happen to you too?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And then
Okay.
I have a big problem with Eventbrite. I mean, then it asks for another, before it goes to keychain, it asks for another code that I don't know what it's talking about because I don't have that.
All right, so I'm in Scott's settings and I put in just to search because I don't want to look for it. The keychain is not coming up.
Oh,
Did they change the name of it?
no,
iCloud passwords.
Okay, there we go. Let me just put in passwords. That'll be faster.
But then
It
all
was
you
already
can
done.
save is phone.
Okay, autofill and passwords, change passcode, pass keys, passwords. Oh, it's just calling it passwords now,
Right.
not
not past key.
keychain.
Okay, then there's passwords.
Right, that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
It's an actual app and it has 3 little keys lined up in a row.
Right, but it's not giving me any information about it.
Okay, so if I look, let's see. Allow passwords to access, show accounts, save passwords, ask when signing in, detect compromise, suggest strong, open passwords. All right, let me look at it. Passwords is locked. Touch ID to view. I can't even unlock it with a finger.
You need a wax. You need to make a mold.
You can give it the finger.
If you don't want to cut up his finger, you can just make.
Okay, so that's pretty nice there, that it will not let me to bypass the fingerprint on his iPad, so I can't even look at them. But I can look at the ones in mine. Morning, Amy. And when I look at my passwords, so going to how does this work for an Android? I go to Google, I go to my account, and then I go to Google account. And then it brings me to here, and then this is a sideways slide menu. So as I pull, this is hard backwards, I can pull this sideways, and there's one that says security. When I tap on that, then I go all the way down to the bottom, and it says password manager. I have 451 passwords. So I tap on manage passwords, and for instance, 800helpflorida.com says I have 2 accounts. I have to unlock it with my finger to get in, or I can use my PIN. And the 2 accounts are still valid. So yeah, so I look at those and they're still valid, but that's one thing that you would want to do is look like down, if I go a little bit lower, there's Adobe and it says 2 accounts. So I tap on it and I look, okay, so here's a great example of signing in. And I know what you're talking about. Sometimes when you're trying to sign into a system and it already puts in your username or you already have your email in there. And so you sign in and it doesn't fill in the username. So then the next time I did it with Adobe, it filled in my username. And so there's 2 accounts, and then I can tap on it to look and see, all right, what's the password? Ends in S. I look at the other one, password ends in Z. So now I got a problem because these are 2 different username, which is my standard, password, and this password are entirely different. So one of them's wrong, right? So one of them has got to go because that might be the confusion that you're having when you try and get in, is because which one is it going to? And both of them say the website is auth, AUTH, like authorize, .services.adobe.com. So what I would do is I would go in and test it. Just go to the website, test it, and see, okay, which password is it actually? And sometimes you get into that insane loop. I was trying to think of what one I was doing the other day, and it was a really old password. So I went to go change the password, and then it sent me a link to do the new password. And I do the link for the new password, and then I put it in, and because I was not paying attention, I put in the wrong one. And so it just kept going, that's not your password. That's not your username. That's not your password. I was like, okay, done. And so I do get frustrated like you guys do sometimes. So when that happens, depending on what it is, if it's something like a merchant, like let's just go back to the Macy's situation last week. If it's Macy's, I'm going to be like, delete my account. I don't care, right? It's a shopping account. I don't need Macy's to have anything of mine. I can start brand new as a whole new customer, right? And just get rid of all of that. Obviously, you're not going to do that with like a bank or your insurance company or something like that. In that case, if there's an option, you might go ahead and either use the 24/7 chat, which is just a bot. It's not going to give you a real person answering a real question, but sometimes the questions get answered. Or you call the helpline if that's an option. And then you say, okay, I need you to, and they can, like my bank has done it, where it's gotten compromised. And so it's like, okay, we're going to do a new password. You have to talk to a person physically who is going to delete the existing password right then and there, and then you start fresh. And so that's another option, is getting another person on the line to help you with that. For most things, because I have 451 saved passwords. So for most things, I don't need to go that route, but for some, you might have to. Medina.
So I got this email this morning about, I think it comes from a website. I don't know how it came to me, but I get it like almost every day. Better Reporting. And this one particular thing that got sent to me was RoboForm. in one word, which is a password manager. And it says, let's see. Wait, after your password is saved. Well, RoboForm works across all major browsers and devices. You only need to save your passwords or addresses to one device, then it's accessible to you. And it got good ratings from the New York Times.
Okay. Yep, I'm
That's all.
looking at it right now.
Okay.
The security.org says the good news is that RoboForm uses encryption to keep your credentials safe. This is the same data encryption the military uses to protect highly sensitive documents. Some of the best VPNs also use this. It's AES-256 to encrypt VPN tunnels. So, yeah, I had not heard of that one before. Under PC Magazine, which I like to find out what they have to say. They like RoboForm. It is a 4.0 out of 5. They call it excellent. It has, bottom line, excels at core password management tasks and fills forms with lots of personal information, all without breaking the bank. So it's not free. It's $23.88 a year,
Oh, okay.
according to this. Pros and cons: diverse form filling options, smooth password capture and replay, offers emergency access. The cons are very limited free plan, limited credential sharing options, few extra features. It does secure password sharing. I mean, it goes all into this. I can share this one just so you can look at it. I was in a webinar last night on digital security, and I heard an interesting phrase that I'm still kind of rolling around in my head here. And they said, let me get this. They said two things that I thought were real interesting. One, they said many things, but these two stuck with me. One said, if you are not paying for the service, you are the service. And I went, what? So oftentimes we talk about you get what you pay for when you do a free service. With a paid service, and I wish Jackie were here. For example, Jackie does LifeLock, and she pays for that. And she feels very confident that that protects her because she pays good money for it. Linda Pollock is another one who pays for a backup system called Carbonite. And that system backs up her stuff in real time, and she pays for it. She trusts someone else to do that for her. And in some instances, I think, that's great. That's wonderful. Obviously, if you pay for something, you're going to get a better product than if you use the free version. There are free versions of antivirus protection. I would never use a free version of antivirus protection because you are literally going to get what you pay for. In the comment that they made about if you are not paying for the service, you are the service. Nowadays, while in all of that long legalese that we get when it says use this service or not, agree, and we go, yes, agree, whatever. I'm not going to read all that. These days, I do read all that. I don't understand all of it 100%, but I do read those agreements because I think it's important to be really careful about what I'm agreeing to. And in some of that, you don't get to opt out of data sharing. And so if you are not paying for the service, the free part, what do they get out of it? Because they put a lot of money, a lot of staff into research, design, and development into whatever product you're using, digital products. What did they get out of it? It used to be you got a website or an app that had ads, right? And so you go, I can look past the ads, no big deal. It's like with commercial television back in the day when we had rabbit ears on top of our TV and we didn't have a cable and it just came over the airways, and that was free. And our cost to that was watching ads. I'll bet everyone in this room can sing the Oscar Mayer Baloney song. That is stuck in our brain for the rest of our lives because it went in so many times, right?
You're right.
And that was the cost. Now we have cable, we pay for, or satellite, whatever, we pay for our services, streaming TV, we pay for those services. And so you don't have to pay for ads.
We
You
still
don't
see
have to
ads.
have, what's that?
And we still see ads.
Still see ads. You see ads? Really? I only do streaming, so I don't
Oh,
see.
no, yeah.
Sports and things like that, I mean, unless
Right.
you, and
There's-
John isn't a believer in catching up, like in, recording it or anything if he's out.
Oh, okay, like
He
TV.
does that.
Yeah.
Doesn't listen to
So-
the radio.
So when we think about that in a digital world of programs, applications, apps that we're using, if we're using the free one and you like it, consider if there's an option to go for the paid version. Good example, AccuWeather. That's the app I use to look at for weather. It's annoying. It's getting way more in my face with the ads. I'm so close to paying for it.
I pay for it.
Do you pay for it and you're happy?
Yes.
And it's not that much money,
No.
I mean, it is literally now less than a cup of coffee to buy the app. Now, some apps, you buy it, it's a one and done, and that's it. You pay for the app, you love it, boom, you got it. You paid $3 for it. I mean, I haven't seen any apps that are more than $10 if you're buying the one and done. Now, you can also buy apps that are subscription. So a good example, I pay for Guitar Tabs. And so that is a music subscription that gives me, the tablature to play my ukulele unlimited. It's $20 a year. It's not a one and done. It's one and done every year, $20. If I break that up, I go, is that worth it on a day-to-day basis for me to spend $20 a year to get free music? Yes, it is. And I don't have to go searching through a million websites to find something. It's just right there and I pay for it and it's boom, it's done. At some point I might decide not to do it anymore, but I have a few subscriptions where it's an annual thing. But it's worth it to me. So in that, they're not collecting my data to sell because that's what they're getting from you in that long agreement, the free. They are telling you they are going to collect your data. They're going to collect, your IP address. Where are you logging into this thing? They're going to collect everything they can because that's valuable to them. And we agree to it. We say yes because we want to use this thing. And so from that, and they might not be selling it to anything that's going to hurt you. It's just annoying. They will sell it. It's like that thing of like if you start looking for, a new pair of shoes and you go online and you start looking for shoes, all of a sudden everywhere you look on every website, they're starting to sell you shoes now. It's like, what? Or if you start looking for cars, if you do car shopping online and start, looking at new designs or features, and the deeper you delve into those things, AKA the more time you spend on a particular website, the more that's going to track you if you're not using your security systems that stop tracking. So I know, for example, one of the best known is DuckDuckGo. Does anybody in this room use that one? Okay. So DuckDuckGo does not track you, right? So Joyce, or Andy, when you look for something, let's take the shoe example. If you start looking for shoes online, do you start to see shoe and you're looking with DuckDuckGo, do you start to see shoes anywhere else? No. Okay. Because it's not tracking you. We can create, for the rest of us who aren't using that, we can create settings in our browsing where we clamp down on cookies. Because basically that's what it is cookies. You go to a website, a digital footprint that you went there, a crumb happens. And everywhere you go, there's all these little crumbs over the internet that says, okay, she's looking at cars now, she's looking at shoes now. Now she's looking at vacation destinations, and all of that information is gathered and then shared, obviously for money, so that, vacation spots can start targeting you. It's kind of like when we were back watching TV and we got ads, none of the ads were personalized for us. We just got the same ad everybody got. Oscar Mayer Baloney came to everybody. Whereas now, when we're looking at stuff online, these digital ads are coming because of what we looked at, and they're trying to predict those are the things you're interested. Under the guise of, it's kind of a two-way street. Yeah, it's a little helpful sometimes. Is it invasive? Yeah, it's invasive. Clamping down on cookies. Go ahead, Medina.
It feels creepy.
It does feel creepy, yeah. But we can also do our settings for getting those cookies to not track us. Okay, so you can, any web browser you're using, whether it's Safari, Google, Firefox, all of those things, you can change your settings so that you can improve what's happening with your tracking. And sometimes that slows things down. So, it's a bit of a trade-off. Using DuckDuckGo, very, very helpful if you don't want to be tracked. Another thing you can do is use a VPN, a virtual private network, which lets you be undetected where you are. So if you, prefer Safari or Google, use those browsers through a VPN and they don't know where you are. So it's not tracking you, same way that DuckDuckGo is not tracking you. So somehow we got way off where we were going. But the other thing that I learned in that class last night was this phrase that I'm going to keep rolling around in my brain, which is, with digital security, you practice layers, not perfection. So we tend to think of all or nothing. Am I going to get all of these things, because it's intense. There are so many places where we have layers of digital security. Our passwords, our what we have turned on our settings, what apps we use, what information we share on social media. All of these places, there are layers of security that you can choose to opt in. And so if you have multi-layers, it's going to protect you far more than getting perfect in one. Trying to get it perfect. And let's say, I pay for the very best, most expensive antivirus software. Good, I'm done. No, it is not that way. One, it is an ongoing thing because the threats constantly change. What is a threat and how well the threats are disguised are constantly changing. And so by having multi-layers, that helps protect you, and having good habits, obviously. What you do in terms of with your fingers, literally, what you're touching, what you're clicking on, that's going to really determine what happens to you. A good example is an attack that's happening through Google right now, through Gmail, where it is saying, I'll send you the article, but if I'm remembering correctly, because I was reading a bunch of them this morning, that it was saying that there was a problem with the security in your account, and it wanted you to click on this link. And the link looked very good. It looked healthy. It looked like it was a Google account thing, and it's not. And it was one word, and you think, oh, well, that's fine. Let me see if I popped it up, because yeah, I got it. All right, let me pull this. I don't want to see the scam results, so that I can show you. Exactly what I'm talking about. All right. So in this particular one, and this is from Malwarebytes, this particular one is a Gmail, and here's what the URL is. It says it points to a sites.google.com page that looks like an exact copy of a Google support portal. And what I learned in reading this article, and my phone is waking up, is that, and this is a tech person who got this, and it said it should have been hosted on accounts.google.com and not sites.google.com. So most of us wouldn't have seen that. I wouldn't have seen that. Of course, I'm not clicking on stuff. When I get something from Google, I'm like, okay, what? Where am I going to go? I'm going to go directly to where that's directing me to. I'm never going to click on something in an email. Same thing with a text that's happening right now. Anybody got the toll charge text?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Yep.
That one's pretty pervasive. Yeah.
Yep, I got that too.
Yeah. And somebody that Scott was talking to yesterday got the text and then got an email. And so they don't live in Florida. They live up here. So they were just traveling to Florida and they got the email from the Florida Department of Motor Vehicles to pay the toll. That's what you get when it says we'll bill you for this toll if you're not using the Easy Pass. Joyce.
The sheriff took out a full-page ad on the back of Keys Reporter describing this scam and telling people to be careful.
Yeah, yeah. So it was interesting. This person got the text, which was fake, but also at the same time had within the last 3 months gone to Florida, had a bill by toll. I forgot what the phrase they use is. We'll bill you when you go through the toll. And so they did get that. And they were like, I don't think I should pay it. No, you should probably pay that if you want to go back to Florida. So that one was real. The email was real, but the text was not. So yeah, it's real pervasive. So, being sure, while we don't have to be security experts like that guy who saw the sites.google.com versus accounts, knowing what you can do instead is just that one more layer of protection. Terry, did you have your hand up?
Yep, the one I tried to send you because it came by email, which surprised me. I've gotten another one, and John got one from not Apple. And it was really a good one. I mean, that's why I sent it to you. When I finally got it to you, it was like, used all their language, the kind of thing, and checking, it's easy to fix. I don't know, something about it looked very real if I hadn't known you.
It did, except for the fact that in the first line there was bad grammar,
Oh, okay.
which is interesting because normally, like with AI, it's been talked about how with AI, they're getting so good that bad grammar really isn't a thing anymore. That they're really knowing how to go around that.
I saw that even on Facebook where it says, do you want to change the words, to make this like your AI on Facebook. And it's so funny how much I kind of know on a few facts, how they'll reword it to, she volunteers in helping set up the screens. And it was just through their years of volunteering for this agency, like she'll make it. So I don't know if you're pressing something different because you can fix grammar, or you can make it funny, or, it has all these choices just on what you click on Facebook that, from every other AI, from that is remarkable. And you think you'll never use it, and you do.
You do. All right, I'm going to show everybody what you're talking about. So first of all, I'm really baffled and I have not figured out, and I'm hoping somebody else in this group, let me stop the share for just a second. Somebody else with an Apple account can please explain to me. The first time this email came, it came from 904, whatever your area code. It came from her phone number. Why does this happen? Why does this happen? Apple users, help me out here. And there is somebody who used to do this in Joy all the time. They would send me an email and it would come from a phone number, even if that person's phone number is in my contacts, Terry,
Using their iPad or something other than their phone, which will not send to a Android phone. If I send you a text from my,
right, but with text, that's what I'm saying. I understand when it comes by text, I get it. Because of that separation between if you send it from an iPad and you're sending it to a non-Apple user, you don't get it. Most of the time, it doesn't even come to me. They may have fixed that a little bit, but that's how it used to be. But it's the first time, Terry, in a long time where I've gotten, and it happened twice in the last 2 weeks, where somebody with an Apple account emailed me, but it didn't come from their email address. It came from their phone number.
Yeah.
So you're saying you sent it as a text?
but I think.
How
I
did you send it as a
copied it.
text
I
to my
thought-
email?
Because oh.
Okay.
No, when I sent it the first time, I had just copied it and sent it to you. I didn't send you I just copied it and pasted it.
As a text.
Yeah.
But somehow it came to my email. That's the part that's very confusing to me. Anybody, Apple users, have any clue?
Oh,
You know what we're talking about?
I think so. If I go to your contacts, through you to contacts, okay? So I go to Betsy Based,
Mm-hmm.
and then I click, okay, so here's Betsy, and then I click message. I have the option, I'm clicking send a message. I have the option to message your phone or your email.
Mm.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So so let me just clarify. You can message my
I'm gonna
email.
find out.
You're messaging my email.
Right, I'm gonna try it actually.
Okay.
So it's based, I'm gonna message. No, it soon, it didn't, it doesn't, oh, text message, SMS. I don't know how it's gonna come to, okay. I don't
Send
know
it
how it's
anyway.
gonna get to
text,
you.
not a.
I just sent you a
it's
message
green.
that
What does
said
mean
test.
instead of blue. That means it's in it.
All right, it hasn't come through yet. But that would make sense if you're still not coming through. If you have a message and you're
Or you said to
Well,
me.
but if you wait a second, if you're going through
I'm
text,
going through the contacts.
yes, I'm in contacts. But see what happened. All right, so just now I'm in Scott's and I put in I went to me and I went to email. I said email me.
Yeah,
And so it automatically brought up the email program
right.
to send me an email. If I
Right.
do messaging, okay.
But
Wow.
then it doesn't, once I click message, it just goes straight to the place to send a message. So I don't know what it's using.
Nope, right here, look at what happened. This is interesting. When I hit message, it came up as a choice.
Right.
I could message, this is through Scott's account, message me through my phone or through my email, and that must be it. Terry, you must have selected email. Well, let's see what happens. When I tap it, no, it still opens up. No. That's it. Da 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 da. Thank you, Joyce. Okay, so
Thank you, Joyce.
when
Go over it
if you're
again.
an Apple user,
Go
do
on.
us all a favor. Do us Android users a favor. When you go to contacts and you are going to send a message to somebody, do not message them through their email. Messaging is text.
No, there must be, because I do that. I've texted you plenty of times. I don't know how it got to, that I moved your,
Right, but
from email. Okay.
it-
I've emailed you from email and
you
texted.
email me from email, it works perfectly. If you email me through text, it does not work perfectly. What happens is it comes in as a number. Even though your number is in my contact list, and this is not just you, Terry, many Apple users have done it, where they send me something and then it comes in my email. First of all, it's in, let me get a grain of sand here. It comes, here's a little piece of dirt on my desk. Okay. It comes in font that big. Do you see the little dot on my finger? You can't read it. You cannot read it. It's literally the small, I've never seen a font that small. And it comes coming from your number, not your name. And so my very first impression is, I ain't touching this. I have no idea who this is because I got nobody's numbers saved in my brain, right? It does not come up as Terry or whoever. It just comes up as a number. So scam radar goes off instantly and I go, yeah, nope, delete. That's my first thing, is to delete it. So what I'm saying is, for you, if you're trying to get, all of you Apple users, if you're trying to get a message to somebody, make sure that you're using the platform that you're coming from. So if you are in text mode and you're sending a text, that works. If you're in text mode and you're sending an email, it doesn't work.
Right.
Things go wrong.
Yeah.
If you're in email, send an email. If you're in text, send a text.
I didn't even know you could send an email in a text.
Well, when I did that, so you can see in Scott's, I am in messages, which is his text,
Yeah.
right? But I'm doing it as from his iPad as an email. Because what I did was, let me go back again. What I did was I made a choice going through Betsy Base. Was I going to do it as a text or was I going to do it as an email? And that's why it's coming up wrong, because he's sending it from texting to email and they're not jiving. So all of the information doesn't come the way it needs to come.
Well, on my iPhone, I have a contact Betsy based, and I have the option to message you, call you, video, or pay you. The email,
I like the last one best.
yeah, I
That's a
know.
good one.
The email symbol or icon is grayed out. I can't email you. Not from a text message.
Not from a text message. Interesting.
Yeah.
No.
Somehow Terry did.
Do you have that? Joyce,
Huh?
do you have that?
No, mine isn't great at. What I do have is a Tavernier address, though, that is not updated.
Or we could change that. And speaking of which, it never came through, Joyce. The text never came through.
Betsy, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, this is Carlene. I'm driving and my Zoom keeps saying Zoom isn't responding, though I am hearing you and you can hear me. So this whole conversation about texting between Android and Apple is a very complicated thing. And I think it also has something to do with the settings of the SM, that texting. I don't know.
RCS,
Yeah,
RCS or
whatever.
SMS.
Because when Apple person texts me, it doesn't go to my text. It goes to my iPad, which I don't see all the time. So I think I had to do something in a setting that would,
You have to sync.
I don't know. There's
Yes,
something,
yes,
it's
sir,
very
I do.
complicated.
So,
I don't know what I'm talking about, but I just know that
Different
there's,
settings on her phone and her.
Carlene, you have an Android phone or an Apple phone now?
no, I have an Android phone
Yes.
and I have 2 iPads now.
Yes.
But so therefore, when people message me,
Mm-hmm.
it goes to that.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think I did a setting on my iPad to make it go to my text, my phone. I think I did that.
Yes.
I'm not sure.
Yes.
Anyway,
You can, and going in reverse, going from Android to Apple, what often happens is, and this is a setting, if I'm going to text, let's see where Terry's is. That was the most recent. All right, I'll do my sister-in-law. So when I an Apple user as well. And so what happens, I don't know if you can see that tiny little print. It says texting with Diane, SMS / MMS.
Right.
I know, and then the other option is let me get somebody, now I have to figure out who's a Android user in this. Maybe her. Yeah, it does not come up as a thing. When I look at somebody else who I know has an Android phone, it doesn't come up as how I'm sending it because Android to Android automatically sends on the same platform. Apple to Apple sends on the same platform is the wrong word. It's the same, let's just call it style of texting, same coding of texting. They match up perfectly, Apple to Apple, Android to Android. When you're going Apple to Android, you have to use a different one. And it's the RC. Let me see if I can find somebody who I'm sending it with. The RCS. And I don't remember what it stands for, but the RCS is rich, maybe it's RCM, rich context message. One of them has the one that starts with an R has a lot more data and information. The other one is a simpler format. So if you take it to like look at, I don't know, remember the notepad that we used to use a million years ago, where the digital notepad where it was just like very, very basic font. You couldn't change anything about it. Or you could use Word and you could do all kinds of fancy things. That's kind of the analogy of it. Using notepad where it was just like text. Using Word where you did this fancy flyer. That's the difference. And RCS or RCM, I don't know why I can't remember what it is this morning, takes more data. And so if you're in a place where there's not a lot of service or poor service, then if you switch to the MMS or SMS, it's a lower data, and so it's easier to go through. If that makes any sense. So Carlene, when you're going cross ones, it's gonna
Right.
between from Android, from Apple people to you, to us as Android users, if we have an iPad, yes, it's gonna go automatically to the one that it likes, to the one it can communicate best to, and that's your iPad.
Right.
So that's not the same situation as going from the number to the email. Like that's
Correct.
happened to me many times. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And I think it's the Apple user's choice on how they're sending the message. It seems like Joyce, it showed us that there are choices, and oftentimes when we're in a hurry, we're just not thinking and we just go, yes, that one, the first one, let's just do that. And I think that's what happened. Because Terry, that's the first time you've ever sent me one that came from your phone number.
Yeah.
And so, just
It's
thinking if
not
you're
a really-
forwarding an email, make sure you forward it, to an email. If you come as a text, you actually have to take that text, put it in email, and then email it to me.
Okay.
See you next week. I gotta go.
Bye, Martin. Okay, take care.
Yeah.
All right, we've gotten far away from the conversations we were going to talk about today. Question about cleaning devices. Did anybody take the time, needed the time to clean their devices? I'm looking at Medina to,
No,
okay.
no.
All right. When that comes up that you actually do that and you run into trouble, if you can email me in advance, like email me before Friday, then I can make sure that we get it into the newsletter for the next week.
Right.
So we'll talk about it. Terry,
Is there one, for, I'm sorry. I was thinking if there's one particular brand, like, for that says they'll clear your duplicate photos, or one has like an Eastern Indian name, like, and they do like different apps, or I get advertisements for them all the time that they'll That's the best example I can think of that they do, that they'll go through and take all duplicates out of your photos.
There's a service that takes duplicate photos out.
Yeah, they'll go through your mail and
Hmm.
I gotta think of it. It's not, or
Write it down. Next time it comes up,
I'm gonna,
remember to
Sorry
get
about
me
that.
the details of it.
because I get so many advertisements.
Cleanup, I think it's called cleanup.
Yeah, that's one is called cleanup. Right. And the other is like a,
Is it free?
yes. Yeah.
You're giving them permission to access all of your photos.
Okay,
Bad idea.
I didn't think so, and I thought there was some equivalent in something else, so.
Yeah, I would never do that. I'm
I just
really
put 'em in
careful.
advertising. I put them in advertising, so I'd watch them like take the numbers and crunch them, and it was just funny that I don't usually, other than sports, we don't usually have any advertisements on stuff.
It goes back to the, if you're not paying for the service, you are the service. Think about what are they getting from you, and all of those pictures, absolutely not. Andy.
More of a security note. My niece sent us a note about a scam going around that it's about a number you don't know, and it says, "Hey, I was cleaning out my contacts, and your number is in my phone. Do I know you?" And that's what she's saying, to delete that as soon as you get it. So.
Yeah. That's a good one. That's a
Yeah.
good one. You know, that preys on our emotional to be nice, you know. It feels like it doesn't cost me much to be nice to somebody. And yeah, no. That's a good one though. And there was several different services that came up in that digital workshop I did last night. And so I have not had a chance to look and see what they are about, but this was a group of people who are super security conscious. And so they came up with ones I hadn't even heard of in terms of putting in place to make things be more secure. Things like using Signal for texting instead of any other texting app. Using
A lot of good that did.
huh?
I said a lot of good that privacy was. Isn't that what who the
Yeah, but that was user error. That is had nothing to do with the app
okay, I'm sorry, I
itself.
didn't mean to bring it up.
No, but you're right, Terry, because it's been in the news a lot. The app itself is extremely secure. The people using it have to be secure. So, I mean, again, what we do has a big impact. So Signal is secure. Another one, an email that is very, very secure is Proton. That one is a very secure email service. And I've started using it to see, how I like it and how it works, for me. So I'm testing it out right now, but I've got a whole bunch of new ones. One of the ones that has come up again and again, and I haven't looked at because it does cost, is called Delete Me. And what Delete Me does is, so we look at how our security gets breached. AT&T, Blue Cross Blue Shield, whoever it is, all of these big companies, almost all of them have been hacked in some way, shape, or form. If we look at have I been pawned, we'll come up with, yes, our name has been in many breaches. Now what? We change our password. That's the first thing we do. Great. But that information is still out there, and some of that information is stuff you still really don't want out there. So now there are services where you will pay them and they will clean you off of all of those places where you should not be. And I don't know how they do it, but this is coming from tech security experts who say, if you can afford it and you're concerned, you should go ahead and do it. So I have not checked it out yet, but Delete Me has come up in my radar several times, and so now I'm curious enough to kind of test it out, find out A, how much it costs and what it's going to do. Somebody in the thing last night said, well, aren't you then giving them permission to have access to your stuff? And you know, it's kind of like the answer by the tech expert last night said, you know, it's kind of like if you're paying for a bodyguard, your bodyguard's gonna know stuff about you that other people don't. You have to have some level of, is this worth it? You know, monitoring your risks. So bye, Amy. So I'm going to check it out and see whether or not that's worth it. I mean, the fact that now my Social Security, thanks to AT&T, my Social Security number is out there. Up until this point, up until the AT&T breach, it wasn't. Now my Social Security number is out there, and that concerns me, you know. So I went ahead and froze my accounts with Experian and TransUnion and whatever the other one is, so that nobody can open up an account. Even if they have my Social Security number, they can't get a mortgage, they can't get a loan, they can't buy a car, they can't do anything using my Social Security number, because that check is going to stop them right there because my accounts are frozen. Medina.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I read a long time ago, keep all three, Experian, TransUnion, and
I forget too.
yeah, keep them frozen all the time.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to make a big purchase or you're going to apply for a credit card.
Exactly. So that's one more level.
Yeah.
All right. And then the last thing, talking about password security, password managers, many people last night in the group said, don't use LastPass because of their breach that had happened. So that one's not one that's being recommended right now by the data experts. So we did not talk about legacy accounts at all, or inactive accounts. How many people in the room are currently have a legacy contact or an inactive Google account set up?
I don't even know.
Okay, good. Then we will start with that next week, because
Because
that one's important and that was on my list of things to do.
Looks like
So
you had a great time.
I did have a great time.
Okay,
Happy faith and a happy dance.
Medina?
okay, before we go, I remember the Oscar Mayer Wiener commercial, but not the Oscar Mayer bologna, so I want to hear that one.
Well, my baloney has a first name. It's OSCAR.
Right. I was
wish
thinking, I wish I were an Oscar Mayer Wiener.
Wiener.
Thank you.
But you know the baloney one.
And this is all being recorded.
I know, isn't that great?
I wish I was an Oscar
Have a
Mayer
great week,
Wiener.
everybody. Terry's still singing.